gentleman from Alabama.
This time I yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from California, senior member of the committee, Mr. Royce.
The gentleman is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, a small community banker in Ohio by the name of Sarah Wallace wrote a letter. She wrote about what she believed will be the end of community banking as we know it. And Sarah Wallace notes, in her words, going forward, we will no longer be able to evaluate loan applications based solely on the creditworthiness of the borrower. We will be making regulation compliance decisions instead of credit decisions. And this gets to the heart of the issue with the underlying legislation that we're discussing. Despite the fact that every failed financial firm had some type of federal regulator overseeing it, the answer put forward in this bill is to give broad, largely undefined powers to those regulators, and not, by the way, in the interest of safety and soundness. If the objective was safety and soundness, the amendment that I put forward to allow the safety and soundness regulator to overrule the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in cases where safety and soundness was at stake, that would have been upheld. No, that's not the goal here. And to get back to the point that Sarah Wallace makes, her observation is that instead of focusing on providing credit and providing the best possible service to the customers in these small towns that need that credit, these institutions will focus instead their efforts on appeasing the federal government and on appeasing their allies in Congress. Well, why should that give us concern? It should worry us because whether it is striving toward another altruistic goal, such as Congress's interest in subsidizing housing, or, and by the way, that's what happened during the housing crisis, or whether it's funneling cash into friendly community activist organizations like ACORN, the fact is the closer big government gets to business, the more likely these favors will become the rule instead of the exception. What I don't like about this is the political pull that comes out of it. What I don't like about it is the market discipline being replaced. And I think on a massive scale, this bill replaces objectivity with subjectivity. It replaces the market discipline on Main Street with political pull in Washington. And regulators will now decide which firms will be treated differently and therefore move through the resolution process, and which firms should be left to the bankruptcy courts. Why would we care about that in terms of these big firms having this ability now to have this alternative means of resolution? Well, once in the resolution process, the government will have the authority to provide a 100% bailout to whichever creditor it favors, while imposing severe losses on other institutions who bought the exact same bonds. Should we be concerned about abuse in this respect? I think so, because this type of bureaucratic discretion has led to abuse in the past. We have already seen that abuse in the Obama administration's handling of the Chrysler bankruptcy last year. Secured creditors, typically entitled to first priority payment under the absolute priority rule, ended up receiving less than the union allies of the administration who held junior creditor claims. The fact that the regulatory reform approach injects politics into the process ensures this kinds of favoritism in the future.
The gentleman from Massachusetts.